Our next presentation is going to be another service or tool that you can use to back up. We have with us today a new presenter. It's always great to have new presenters with us. In fact, he will be here again next week at the Linux workshop, but today he's doing backup. Drew King lives in Sarasota, Florida with his dog, Abby, where he has his own consulting company, King's Consulting. He assists people with their dysfunctional computers, networks, and smart homes. He's a member of the Sarasota Technology User Group and on their board of directors. He also serves on the board of directors of the Boston Network Users Group, and he's been with them for 30 plus years. He began his career, you're gonna like this, he began his career in computers in high school in the computer club, where he contributed to the assembly of a small computer from a company named Sinclair. Ring a bell, anybody? And Drew continued his education in Alfred University in New York, earning a bachelor's degree in computer science. His first job after graduating was with a small computer company where he learned how to build and repair computers and a local area networks from a computer company called Novell. Way back there. He also taught computer classes. He then worked for Wang Laboratories from 91 until 2001. And after that, he became a network service manager for Eastman Software Worldwide, which was a division of Wang. This is where he learned to be a Microsoft Exchange administrator. In 2001, he began his job as a senior Exchange administrator for a global startup company. And then about a year later, found out that the internet bubble was kind of going. So he kind of had to look into the future, and he decided to go into his own company, King Consulting. He became a reseller, trainer, and supporter of Dragon Naturally Speaking, the voice recognition software mainly used by doctors and severely disabled. I had a friend who used it. Drew also taught a person with quadriplegia to communicate via computer while on a ventilator using that software. Today, Drew is going to be talking to us about more backup tools. So Drew, we'll change it over to you.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
I can. All
right. Let's go into the share screen. And I just wanted to very quickly give you an overview of how I'm doing my demo today. I'm going to be involving my cell phone, and I'll be doing a program called GoodSync. And I have GoodSync running on my cell phone so that I can both access my cloud files from my cell phone and also back up my cell phone. And I have a Linux machine, a virtual machine running, and I have a Windows virtual machine running. And I'm going to be doing the demo. Oops. First, I'm doing a slideshow. And let's get this up here. And let me get this out of the way. And I now need to get this out of the way. Bear with me for 1 second while I clean up my desktop. Okay, so now when you go in here, I'm going to be talking about PC to PC cloud backup, and also PC to PC and cloud, PC to cloud, and phone to PC. And I just wanted to say that Linux is the easiest cloud storage solution is pCloud. I'm relatively new to pCloud, but I agree with John. It's a very good program. It works just the same on Linux as it does on Windows. It has the same graphical user interface. It puts a folder inside your home folder and for your pCloud files. And you can back up individual folders, you can sync folders. It works just like it does on Windows. One of the reasons that I go with a program like GoodSync is I ran into a problem with OneDrive, and I was doing a Linux test. I have two PCs that are logging into OneDrive with the same user ID, and I did a test on a Linux machine. I was trying to access OneDrive, and I was disassembling that machine, and I accidentally deleted the folder on Linux before I disassembled the software, and it went and wiped out the files on both computers. So that's something that you want to be careful of when you're using a regular traditional sync program rather than a backup program. And this program here will do file synchronization and backup. And it works across Windows, it works on the Mac, it works on Android, it works on iOS. The one problem that it has is on Linux, it's a command line product only. I run actually the Windows version of this on my Linux machine, and it seems to work just fine, although I haven't tried out all of the features. This product, GoodSync, can back up to Amazon Cloud Services. I'm going to be personally demonstrating how it backs up to Backblaze, how it backs up to Google Drive, how it backs up to OneDrive. And I'm not a subscriber to Office 365, but the product now does support Office 365. And as you can see, when you have the software running, it runs on your computer, it runs on your tablet, and it runs on your cell phone. And file backup, I consider to be basically a one-way sync. You can designate files to be backed up from the client to the server, or from one PC to another PC. And if you accidentally delete the file on the backup side, it does not delete the file on the front side. Whereas real-time automated data replication will back up the files and then delete the files if you delete them on either side. One of the nice things about file synchronization, and I'll show you this a little bit later in more detail, is you can synchronize multiple computers with each other. And one of them doesn't need to be in the same LAN as the rest of them. You can have a computer in your work office and a computer in your home office and synchronize files between them. And as you travel back and forth to work, you don't need to carry your files with you. You can access them on both computers. Remote access to your data is provided through a product called GoodSync Explorer. It comes with GoodSync, and it lets you access any of your local drives or remote drives, your cloud drives. It gets basically to everything they support. And now, here's where we have to get into the goods and the bads. GoodSync personal free versus paid. You can do GoodSync backup jobs and designate a job to back up your photos only, one that does your documents only. However, the free version is limited to only 3 of those backup jobs. You can do synchronization. You can do access any of the cloud servers, the SFTP servers. You can use the GoodSync Explorer program, and you get end-to-end encryption. You're limited to only 3 unless you pay for it. And here's where the real downside comes, is you lose out on what's called GoodSync Connect with the free version. And GoodSync Connect is a proprietary software program that enables all of your computers to talk to each other. Here at home, I have my virtual machines running on different subnets from my Windows machines, and it's very difficult to browse across subnets. It's also difficult or impossible to browse between your office computer and your home computer. GoodSync Connect will take care of that for you. And so if you have a licensed version, you can use GoodSync Connect, and you don't have to worry about what the other computer's IP address is, or what subnet it's on, or what building it's in. Mobile device support is only provided in the paid version. Automatic job running and unattended job running, again, are only in the paid version of the product. That one I'm going to skip. I'm running on this demo computer the trial version, and they just reminded me this morning that I will, in 13 days, lose access to jobs, automatic backups, sharing folders with friends and coworkers, and technical support. Now, the features of every backup and synchronization task. Real-time data transfer. You can have files set up to transfer from computer to computer. And I have both a Windows 10 computer and a Windows 11 computer. And what I do is I have automated tasks that in real time will synchronize my files from one PC to the other PC. So if I copy a picture from my cell phone to my Windows 10 computer and I put it in my pictures folder, it will automatically tell the software will recognize it and it'll put it on my Windows 11 computer. My block level data transfer means that it propagates only the data blocks that have changed since the last analysis rather than the entire file. And it can run as a background service, performing automated scheduled real-time backups with no user intervention required. And it has end-to-end file encryption for transferring files between computers. So if you have a computer at the office and you have a computer at home and you're synchronizing, you can be assured that over the internet, your files are safe. It also has version history control. And I will show you this in the software where you can designate how many files you would like to have replicated in history so that you can restore. And they do it by time. So you can have it save your files forever for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. It can copy locked files as well. File and folder move and rename. I think somebody else had mentioned this in one of the other sessions. GoodSync will detect file and folder renames and execute them as a move command. It will propagate security attributes. Some of the backup programs are not capable of doing that. And GoodSync also provides their own online cloud storage service called RealDisk. It provides very fast service, only they charge a premium price for it. So you have to decide how much it really is of value to you. They create detailed logs of everything that you do. After every backup job is run, there's a log file that tells you exactly what it did and didn't do. It can do parallel threads. You can run sync jobs in several threads working in parallel to achieve faster file transfer speeds. You can set up files to be excluded and included. So you do not have to back up an entire directory tree. You can set it up to back up the master folder, but not a subfolder, for example. It can automatically reconnect. If you're connecting to remote machines, it will automatically reconnect on drive failures. If you have a portable drive, if you're doing backups locally, you don't have to worry about the drive letter. You can set it up so that it will start with the volume name of the hard drive that you have as your external drive, and it will find the disk no matter what disk letter it happens to be using on your machine when you plug it in. What platforms and services does GoodSync support? It supports Windows, Linux, Mac, Windows Server, iOS, and Android. I don't know what the iOS app looks like. On Android, it lets you browse all of your files that you have stored on any of your other computers. So I assume that maybe it can do the same thing there. And it also lets you back up files that are on your Android device. It supports NAS storage. For those of you who may have a Western Digital MyDrive personal cloud storage, it can run on there and you can use that as your backup location. For cloud storage, it supports a wide variety of storage services. I'm going to be showing you the GoodSync storage, Google Drive, OneDrive, and Backblaze. And I also have SFTP configured and GoodSync Connect. GoodSync Connect is a proprietary feature of GoodSync. And it's really the main reason why you want to pay for the software. It As I said, you don't have to worry about what your IP address is. You don't have to worry about what subnet you're on. You don't have to worry about what brand the operating system is. You can use GoodSync Connect to share files between a Windows computer and a Mac, or any one of your computers you can share files to. It comes with a program called GoodSync Explorer, which is a separate app. And you can use that GoodSync Explorer not to only copy files between your local drive and your cloud drive, or you can actually connect any of these together. So if you have files that are local, you can put them on your NAS drive. If you have files on your Google Drive, you can move them to your Backblaze drive. If you have files locally, you can drop them directly into your Office 365 folder. You can, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier in one of the other meetings, you can create your own peer-to-peer cloud with no internet involved. You can synchronize. Here is an example of a local cloud storage and two PCs that are sharing files with each other. No cloud server involved. How does GoodSync achieve all of this communication? Well, they require that you log in with a user ID, and under the servers tab, when you log into their account, S21 is my cell phone, Salmon is a Linux machine, Samsung is a tablet, and the Windows machine that I'm running this demo on right now. And it figures out what the IP address is on the external network, what it is on the inside, and it takes care of all of that communication for you. So you don't have to worry about how they're talking to each other. You just know that they do. If you have one PC set up to talk to the cloud, you can download those cloud files to that PC and then replicate them to your other PCs and your NAS storage. So it's very, very flexible. It gives you what I think really are the most options for backing up your files. For flash drives, laptops, desktops, external drives, the cloud. I use Backblaze B2 storage. And GoodSync Personal, a license is $29.95, and you can run it on up to 5 devices. And unfortunately, they did go away from a buy it and own it product model. It is now a 1-year subscription model. So if you want more than 3 jobs and you want to use GoodSync Connect and you want to have automated backups, you have to pay the $29.95 in perpetuity. They give you 10 gigabytes of free space to use if you're a paid customer. If you want to go beyond that, this is their pricing options. The 100 gig option for $20 happens to be the exact same price as Google and Microsoft. Once you go beyond that, their prices get a little crazy. I pay at Backblaze $60 for a terabyte of storage, and I can back up as many computers as I want. I'm not restricted to anything. Here, it's $100 for 1 terabyte, $200 for 2 terabytes. It's only $120 at Backblaze. And you can dynamically add your storage with Backblaze. You can buy 1 terabyte at a time. So this is the Backblaze B2 service that I use, and it's $60 for 1 terabyte. And this is just a price chart that compares what other cloud services charge that are on the same product line as Backblaze. Google Drive offers 100 and 200 gigabyte options and only a 2 terabyte option. Microsoft offers a $70 1 terabyte option. They don't offer anything beyond that. And what's nice about this 1 terabyte option is you get Microsoft Office with it. So you're buying a subscription to Microsoft Office and you get a terabyte of storage. Some people I know don't like to use the OneDrive feature in Windows, and they often disable it. If you disable or uninstall OneDrive from your computer, you still have, and you have a subscription to Office, you still have that 1 terabyte of storage that you're allowed to use. And you can use that with GoodSync. And GoodSync is a Backblaze business partner. And I will be showing on another date another Backblaze business partner, a software program called Duplicati. Duplicati, somebody had asked a question earlier today. I threw this in the slide during the other presentation. Deduplication is a technique used in computing to eliminate duplicate copies of repeating data. It works by analyzing the contents and makes sure that you only have 1 copy of each file. And lastly, a future product that I'll be doing a presentation on is a product called SyncThing, which is a continuous file sync program. This doesn't involve any cloud servers. It only goes between Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. And it does not involve any cloud servers. So if you want peer-to-peer file synchronization, this is another option. And then I just included some information about the product that you can read when you get the handouts. Before I continue on to the demo, are there any questions that have so far, or should I just continue on to the demo?
Just keep on with the demo, please. I've got lots of them, but we may or may not have time. We might do email. All
right. Backblaze B2 Cloud Storage is a cloud service for storing files in the cloud. And we're going to be using with GoodSync an API. Backblaze, I'll let everybody read about this. You're going to create an application ID and a key, which is basically a user ID and a password. Your data is stored in what they call a bucket. And if you think of this as your whole storage system, you can create a bucket for your PC1 and a separate bucket for PC2 so that you keep your files separate from each other. And you go into Backblaze. They give away 10 gigabytes for free, by the way. You can set up your own free Backblaze account and set up your own data bucket and use it with any program that supports Backblaze. You go in, you create a bucket, and you will be given your ID and password for that bucket. Once you're set up, you type in your ID and your password, and you hit the test button. And when you do, you have all of this set up. I wanted to show this slide real quick in the software because I wanted to remind myself to show you where you set up the history. Inside options for a task, in the general tab, it's actually hidden in the recycle bin. You want to check off save, deleted, and replaced files to the history folder and create multiple versions. You can choose how many days of versions you would like to keep. So I threw this in here just so that you would remember where to go get it if you look at the product. And also, if you want to, you can set up client-side file encryption so that the files are stored on the server in an encrypted format. The GoodSync Explorer is what you use to restore the file history. If you go to the server, you open up the folder GS data for GoodSync data and look at the history folder. And I have multiple files of a demo file that I created that I can restore. And it also has, this is where the log files go as well. And I will be showing a little bit about SSH server a little bit later. I just wanted to show that in the slide. And now we're going to go on and show you the actual product. And this is the Windows computer. And if I go into my Google Drive, you'll see that the backup that I did to Google Drive is encrypted. This is what the files look like if you back them up in an encrypted format using the software. So you can't use Google Drive in this way to access the files directly. So you have to decide, and do I really want to encrypt those files or not? Inside the GoodSync application. This is the main user interface. And what you would do is you would first create a job, and then you have to select what you want to back up on the left and where you want it to go on the right. And you can choose your local computer and whatever you want on your local computer. This is the GoodSync Connect that I showed you, talked about earlier. And if I expand this, it has the real disk, 10 gigabytes of free space, my cell phone, my Linux computer, my Samsung tablet, and this Windows computer are all available right now in real time. You can back up to Windows shares. You can access, if you share a folder on a Windows computer, you can access it that way. It supports Apple, it supports Google Drive, it supports Google Photos. You can actually copy photos directly into your Photos folder on Google Drive. And you can use Backblaze and Box.com. I think it supports Dropbox as well. I'm going on to a test that I did, mirroring my documents folder to Backblaze. And what I did is I just chose my computer documents, and on the Backblaze side, it has a replica of the folders over here. And I set this up so that it would do an automatic backup. If I go into here and I say that I want to edit this file, and let's say I add a bunch of 8s to the file, and I hit File Save, it is going to, the file system is going to tell Backblaze that there is a data change. And you'll see here in the taskbar that it has recognized that there's a backup, and it's now automatically running the backup for me. And if I want to restore a file, I will go into, I'll show you how to do that real quick. If I go into GoodSync Connect and I go to my Windows computer and I go into my user folder, I will see this GS data folder that I showed you earlier. And, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I have to go, not there, I have to go into my Backblaze where the server is. And I go into my server, and here is the GS data folder. And here are the log files, and here are the history files. And I can click on any one of these files by date and just simply say that I want to download that file. And I'm going to download it to my documents folder and hit OK. And my file has now been restored. That's about as difficult as it gets. If I go into here, it didn't overwrite the file that I created before. It just put back a file, and then I can choose what I want to do with it. Next, this is how I created the encrypted backup. What I did is I went into options, and I chose the right side, and I put in a user ID, a password. And what you need to do, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier, never, ever, ever forget this password. Put it in your password manager, put it someplace safe. Without it, if you have a computer crash and you have to install Windows again, and you have to install GoodSync again, you're going to have to put this password in again in order to retrieve your data. So you want to be very careful when you do this. This is an example of my documents, local documents folder being replicated up to my Linux machine. And if I were to hit Analyze and Sync, it would take the updated APCUG file and move it to my Linux machine. If I have my documents folder, this one doesn't work right now, but my documents folder going to my Dell computer's solid state drive. And here I have my cell phone photos folder going to my Linux machine. If I were to run this task, I can send to Linux, and I don't care that it's a Linux machine or a Mac machine. All I'm doing is sending my files from my Windows computer over to my Linux machine. And if I go over to that Linux machine and log in, I can go to my documents folder. Oh, here's my pCloud drive. This is what pCloud looks like on Linux. It looks just like the same as it does on Windows. Here is my backup folder, pCloud backup folder, my computer. And if I go into pictures, hopefully I will see the Facebook folder with the files that I just restored to the Linux machine. And I have it set up to go to Windows as well. And I have a group called Photos Everywhere. And when you set up a group, you can actually, if I were to hit sync, it would run both of these jobs consecutively so that it would send all of my photos that I just took. If I went out on a photo shoot or I went out on a vacation, I could take all of my photos and upload them to Windows and Linux by just running this one job. And that is that product. And GoodSync Explorer is a really neat application. And if I split it into two trees and I go back up to the top, I have the ability to create what they call bookmarks. And I have a bookmark for the documents folder on my cell phone, a bookmark for the documents on my Backblaze machine, my Google Photos. If I go into Google Photos on the left, or actually if I go into, let me show you something really neat. Let me go to my cell phone. And I can go into my pictures folder. Area of my pictures, and I can actually grab a file and scroll down over here and find Google Photos, and I can drop this, I can copy this, I can go into all photos, and I can simply click on copy, and it will copy that photo into my Google Photos. And it can do the same thing with pretty much anything. And here's another thing that's neat. Let's say you go on a vacation and you want to create a new photo album. You can go into here and say that I'd like to create a new folder, and I'll call it APCUG demo. Oops. And I'll create essentially a new photo album. And then I can I'll just do 2 files so I don't take up a lot of time, and hit copy and put them in my photo album. And when this is done, I'll be able to go over to my Google Drive and go into my photos. And I should see, if I refresh, a new photo album called APCUG Demo with a couple of pictures in it. So that's kind of neat. And I just want to show you one more thing before I'm done. And that is how you can use the technology called SFTP. If I go all the way, scroll down to the bottom, SFTP, if you choose to not pay for the product, but you still want to use GoodSync, you can use GoodSync using the secure FTP protocol. And the way that you do that is if you're running on Linux it's included in Linux. And if you're not, what I do is I go to the Google Play App Store and I downloaded this little program called SSH Server. And when I run SSH Server, it gives me the IP address and port number that I need. And I would go into, cancel out of here. I would go into here and create a new entry. I would put in the IP address here, and I would put in my user ID and my password and hit test and connect, and I'll be able to access any computer that I want or any cell phone that I want. I can edit my tablet, I can access Windows. And I included in the notes the instructions on how to set up SFTP on Windows so that you can go peer-to-peer from Windows machine to Windows machine using this GoodSync Explorer program without having to pay for the GoodSync Connect program. I figured that would be a nice option for people to learn how to do. And it's just a matter of following the instructions that Microsoft created them, actually. It's part of Windows. It's not a third-party program. It's enabled through settings in Windows, and the instructions come from Microsoft, and those will be handed out with your notes. And that is product. So now I'm basically ready for any questions that we might have.
I think it's pretty great, Drew. You know, we've been talking about it a lot, and I'm impressed with the program.
Talk about a comprehensive teacher type presentation. Thank you so much for that. It looks like it is, to me, visually very easy to use. But does it work with Chromebooks?
I do not think that it does. Oh, wait a minute. You can load the Android app on a Chromebook, and you'll be able to navigate. Let me show you this real fast. If I were to get out of this program, you can load this GoodSync program on a Chromebook, and I can go into here and go back to the main menu. Let me go all the way back to the main menu. GoodSync Connect is their proprietary connection protocol. And if you're on a cell phone, and I believe this would work on both Windows and Linux, Windows, iPhone, and also the Chromebook, you click on GoodSync Connect, and it's going to show me all of my devices. Here's my tablet. Here's my online cloud drive, my Linux drive, and my Windows drive. And I can access all of my data. I can even get to my pCloud that I have on Windows. And so this would be how you would get files from a remote server to your Chromebook. And then if you go over here and you run the GoodSync server, like I'm running it now, you'll be able to use the GoodSync program on your PC to back up your Chromebook.
Cool. That helps the person who asks the questions. I don't have one. How is their support? What kind of support can you get from them? Can you get support if you do the free bit?
If you are on the free version, they will not provide you with tech support. Well, they mentioned priority tech support. They may have some lower level of support, or there might be a community support. But if you want to contact technical support, if you have the paid account, you just log into their website in a browser, and you can get right to tech support. I was able to ask them a question, and they got back to me in about half an hour.
Cool. Earlier, we were told to use SSD backup drives, but in the photo backup session, we were told to use mechanical hard drives for archiving. Is this mutually exclusive, or are they both good? Which one is better than the other one? What?
Well, I have upgraded exclusively to SSD drives, primarily for the speed. I do a lot of virtual machine work. In fact, both of these virtual machines, the Windows and the Linux, are running in real time off an external SSD drive. You can't do that with a spinning drive. So depending upon the types of files that you're backing up, if you're a person that does a lot of video editing and you've got files that are gigabytes in size, an SSD drive, especially the one that I have here, can copy multiple gigabytes in just a few seconds.
There's a 2 terabyte, Toshiba drive on Amazon for $70, which is not too shabby. The prices for the large drives have come down considerably, like everything does after they start getting popular in the world.
Well, what matters the most is what their maximum sustained data transfer rates are.
Yes.
A regular flash drive is only going to give you maybe 40, 50 megabytes per second. This particular drive is rated for a maximum of 1,000. If I run a copy test program that really pushes the system, I can get close to 800 megabytes per second, and not megabits, megabytes. I can move a 4 gigabyte file in under 10 seconds. And so that $80 drive, you want to, before you buy it, look and see what its maximum throughput is and what kind of connector it has.
Isn't there a newer version, ND something or other is the SSD drive you should buy definitely?
Well, there is, I have an I think it's M.2 SSD, and the one that I have here, I don't know if anybody can see it. It's about less than 1 inch thick, and it's about 3 or 4 inches long, and it holds 2 terabytes of storage. And it is on sale actually right now on Amazon. I just bought a second one to do drive-to-drive backups. One of the things that I do that I didn't mention earlier was I back up both to the cloud and to a local disk, and my local disk is mirrored to another local disk, so that if either one of those disks were to fail, I have an exact replica of the drive. I highly recommend going with solid state drives over regular spinning drives, but that's just personal preference. Regular spinning drives are becoming difficult to buy.
I would think that that is going to be the way of the world from now on. Thank you very much, Mr. Drew. Your presentation was fantastic. If it's understandable to me, then it's understandable to everybody in the whole free world. Jerry Berman has a question.
Yeah, this is slightly off to the side a little bit. We're learning about backups, I'm sorry, and the necessity of having them to preserve your data in the event that it gets corrupted or it gets lost or you delete something. We're learning about syncing so that you can use the data that you have between different devices. What I don't understand is when a company, an organization, for example, undergoes a ransomware attack and their files are encrypted and they got to pay to get them back, why can't they use a backup? Are the backups not isolated in some way that they can instantly return to what they had without having to pay the ransom?
It all depends on the quality of the people in the IT department that are doing the backups. When I've ever worked for a company, we always had an offsite storage facility, and every single day we used a new set of tapes. This was back in the day when we were using magnetic tape, and every day we backed up, and once a week, I believe the backup company came in and brought us back the previous week's tapes, and we gave them the current week's tapes. So if our files were to get hijacked, we just simply go to the most recent backup.
In my legal department, I insisted we have our own dedicated server for all of our legal documents. It was backed up every single day to Iron Mountain, which you can do.
The companies that are subject to the ransom.
That's where all our paper files went to, but it was taken offsite immediately every single day. I imagine the rest of the servers, they did the same thing, but that was just something that I insisted on because I belong to a computer club where we talked about stuff like that. You'd be surprised how many.
Just a management decision not to have external storage isolated then. So then you have to pay the ransom to get your stuff back. Bad decision.
Hey, LA City JCs. Only one out of their consortium of, I think, 10, they couldn't start school because they got hit by ransomware and they couldn't get into any of their student databases. So every other JC started, but for this one, and it took them 2 weeks to figure everything out. Now, I can only hope the IT departments are getting more savvy because we certainly all are with all the presentations and things we talk about. You know, so I give presentations and I will ask how many people are backing up. Oftentimes it is half of the attendees and the other ones are going like this. They're looking over to the side so I can't see them. Bill James has a question.
I don't have a question, just a comment, Jewel. My nonprofit that I'm a board member on was ransomed a couple years ago, and we restored the data from a backup, and it worked quite well.
Yes.
And subsequently, now what we're doing is that to avoid that situation in the future, all the data is now being moved to a cloud storage. I thought that was rather interesting that they're taking that step. But
well, a lot of companies now don't even have local storage anymore. The last company that I worked for paid for high-speed internet bandwidth and just kept all their files off-site. They didn't even have servers in the data center.
Ooh, they knew what they were doing. John.
One comment on the companies backing. I read a couple incidences around me where it was determined that the length of time that it would take to restore all the data, the hours and the manpower and stuff, that the ransom would have cost less if they were guaranteed that they would get it. But that was part of the problem, is it just, you know, the massive amount of man hours to restore. And this is one of the, I think one of the banks that had mentioned this. And I can understand, you know, if it's going to take, because downloading from the cloud, you know, takes some time, and getting it back out, you know, to all the computers. So I've heard that part of it is that it's the manpower trade-off for ransom versus putting it up. But
yes,
But
and somebody sent me a message directly that I can't reply to, asking if the slides will be made available somehow, and the answer is yes. I will provide them to the group.
he will be sending those to me, and as with every single workshop since May of 2020, you will receive a link to the YouTube videos. You will get a link to, you get all the PDFs of the presentations. Drew mentioned extra handouts. You will also be getting that. Please don't get in touch with me tomorrow and ask me where it is. I appreciate that. And like Bob G says, for those of us who are at home, please unplug your external hard drive unless you are doing a weekly backup. He unplugs everything on all his computers. He does his weekly backups, and then he, you know, up and running, and he goes back out, plugs back the internet, the whole 9 yards, and it will come directly through to your C drive, right through to your external hard drive. And if you don't have a cloud backup, you've lost every single thing. Bill Ginsberg.
Hi. Question and a comment. The comment is, with the ransomware, they often threaten to release all of the Social Security private information from a hospital, from a company, unless you pay. So just backing up, your clients are still vulnerable. And the question is, not too long ago, I had some friends with large SSD backups, and they crashed. The larger ones just were not working. Are they reliable now?
I can't speak specifically about the size of the hard drives, but I own 2, and I mirror them together so that I've had spinning hard drives, backup drives fail on me in the past. And I'm one of those people that tends to not use my backup drive only for backup. I use it as a data drive as well. And like, for example, this virtual machine is running off of that external drive. So I will, at the end of the day today, mirror this drive to my other drive. And God forbid, if one of them should fail, I don't lose anything.
I use SanDisk. It's very fast. I'm very happy with it, but I wonder if anybody, I use a 1 terabyte. Does anybody have information on SanDisk with larger terabytes?
I use 2 terabyte generally. In fact, I just bought a couple yesterday, and I love those drives.
Okay,
Cool.
thanks.
Please back up. It's really important because I've lost 2 physical drives, and both times they were in the summer before my Southwest Tech Conference in San Diego. And if I did not have a backup, I would have had to cancel the conference, lost our shirts with the amount of money that we would have needed to pay the hotel, cancel all the vendors, the whole 9 yards. So it's really important. And if you still have physical drives and they are making different sounds when you turn them on, you might think, oh my gosh, my hard drive is dying, because that's how Judy's did. It's the only way I knew they were dying is they were beeping at me when I turned them on. John, unmute, please.
Yep, still need to unmute. There you go.
There you go. I haven't heard anybody mention it, but I do image backups, and there is known ransomware that lies dormant on your machine and other malware, and it'll lie dormant for as much as 6 months. If you're not keeping 6 months of backups and you get attacked by that, although it's very rare for the individuals who are on this call to be attacked by ransomware. I would be surprised if there was more than one who ever experienced that. But you need at least 6 months back of backups. I also make a habit of copying my backup to another external hard drive. SSDs are not intended for long-term storage. They have to be powered up and refreshed. They're electronic. So I always use hard disk drives for long-term storage. And they're now selling all these 8, 12, 16 terabyte hard drives. Well, hard drives fail. That's why we back them up. You're going to buy 2 16 terabyte drives. If you want to copy one of those drives to another drive, how long is it going to take you? 16 terabytes is too large to copy in a reasonable amount of time. So I make a habit of buying 4 or 5 terabyte drives.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have more than one copy and it's got to be on not an SSD. If you copy it to the cloud, they're going to make the backups everywhere and you'll be safe. But you still have to copy it into more than one backup company.
Yes, I actually, speaking of cloud backups, my most critical file, I have about 10 gigabytes of files that I consider to be my most important files. And those are backed up to 2 different cloud providers.
And I have absolutely no personal data on my hard drive, so please take it away. It wouldn't make any difference. I would lose stuff like Wednesday workshop stuff, my curriculum that I really don't need anymore. But I personally don't have anything personal on my hard drive, and I have a terabyte almost full.
I just wanted to mention, I mean, to me, one of the main things that a computer can do is search, store things, and be able to search through them. So I keep all of my important receipts, records, data, bills, whatever, anything that is now my personal data, it's on a computer so that I can quickly search it. I go back sometimes 3, 4, 5 years to find the receipt for something that has now failed so that I can find out who I bought it from, what I paid for. But being able to search is one of the essential features of having the computer and having your data on it. Now, there are ways to do it. You can use OneDrive and keep the data there. Of course, we trust that Microsoft will stay around for a long time, but a lot of people have said they don't trust the cloud, they don't trust Microsoft. Well, yeah, as you say, Judy, you don't have any important data on your computer. Are you keeping stuff on paper in a file cabinet? Or do you just throw it away?
I keep the very limited little about warranties and things like that in a bag. It's my go bag if I have to evacuate again. And it's the bag for my kids, but I also have all that information in my password manager programs. You can add, I bought a new dishwasher and all of the information, contact, how much it cost, how long the warranty's for, what the serial number is, the whole 9 yards in my password manager program.
One more thing to put in my password manager. It's got social security numbers, it's got credit card numbers, CVVs, expiration dates. Password managers are databases that are secure, not just in one place, and keep the file in multiple places backed up.
And Bob says you should have 2 in case one dies. The other one will have all the information that you want. Dale, question.
Yeah, I know sometimes I get receipts and things in special, verification emails. And I wanted to know how I take those out of my email and put them in a storage place that's secure.
I copy and paste the information into a Word document because I deal with Word all the time.
Yep. And what I do is I use a program called Evernote, and I take my receipts and I scan them into, if it's an important receipt, I scan it into Evernote. Evernote OCRs it, and then I can search for the shirt that I bought at a certain store and find the receipt for it.
And Evernote is in the cloud. They have a free program and a paid program. It is excellent.
And then Judy, you just said something about you put your information in password something.
Yeah, password manager program. Do you use one, Dale?
No.
Oh, well, you should. It can be one-stop shopping for you.
So is that like Bitwarden?
Yes. Yes.
Bitwarden is a good free program.
Thank you for saying that, Drew. Appreciate that.
Save me from having to say it.
I know that, and me thinking it. So, Mustafa,
Yeah.
quick question, please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I am an ordinary computer user. And I have an understanding or maybe an opinion about the backing up in general. So one is SSD versus drive backup, like it has little engine inside. I understand that, as I understand it, SSD dies without any notice. So my preference is going to be using a drive backup, external backup. And having said that, I like to use a drive. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. I want to have external multi-drive, at least 2 drive. So if, like the old PC, we used to have the desktop, that monitor was separate, and it has drive A, drive B. If A did go bad, we had the B, and we had the image on the other one. So I do like to have a at least 2 drive or multi-drive, and I don't know where to or how to find it, and then use that one as my external backup. So, and that's just what I understand. I don't know if anyone can help me out. And also I like to make them, as you say, I like to make it very encrypted. And also there are some maybe available as home cloud. You just go through the through the Wi-Fi inside home, not through the internet. You are not connected outside. I want to know if anyone has any information or who can help me out. Thank you.
Mustafa, will you send that to me in an email and I will send it to Drew?
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. And aren't you with the Laguna Woods group?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Don't you guys have presentations on backup and stuff like this?
Do you know what?
Well,
the audience we have here are very kind of a beginner started, and also they don't have in depth, and so we cannot go in depth in the classes even they have it. Yes, they do have one. I have been to some of them. I really know more than what they say there. So.
Good job. You learned everything by attending all the Wednesday workshops you do. Bill Ginsberg, it's your turn, and you are our last question.
Oh, boy. My daughter was teaching in college, and she would do work on her presentation at home and send it to Dropbox. Then in school, she would modify the presentation, and that worked fine. But Dropbox is a one-way trip. So what you can do is then copy that file on an SSD drive or something, and then bring it back to your home computer. Otherwise, it's just a one-way trip. But Judy, my question is, which password managers do you use?
Well, Bitwarden.
Yeah.
John, take over.
Yeah. Well, I'm a proponent of Bitwarden. It just has too many good features for the price. Oh, it's free.
What is it called? BIT word?
Bitwarden, like a prison warden. And pCloud now has their own password manager, and it's good, but it's got a fee to it after one user. But the Bitwarden just has so many features to it, and for free, you just can't beat it. But there are others out there that people like. They'll say, they like some of the LastPass, which has had some bad problems. KeyPass is one that you keep on your computer.
LastPass had problems.
Oh yeah, we don't want to go into that. Yeah, they had a bunch of hacking or breaches of security.
Yeah, there's RoboForm. Many people like RoboForm. It can also be on your hard drive. I have people who do not believe in the cloud in my group. Oh my God. And I'm always saying, well, here's a password manager you can use, and you keep everything on your hard drive. It's not in the cloud. But then again, now when LastPass raised their user groupies are very cheap. We really don't like anything over $19.99 if we have to pay money for it. And LastPass took away some of their features and the free program and put it in the paid program, which is like absolutely nothing, $12 a year, $24 a year, but they got pissed And majority of the people that commented, they went to Bitwarden and they said it seamlessly went from LastPass to Bitwarden with absolutely no problem at all. And they were happy campers. LastPass was recently breached. The last article I read was their master password was one of the things that was breached. I wouldn't touch LastPass if you paid me to, a whole bunch of money.
What happens, I have a financial site, and every 3 months they want a new password. Does the password manager handle that?
You can set, you can, that's, they will put passwords together that you would never be able to remember in this or any other lifetime, but I imagine you would need to let them know some way how to do that. I don't have anything like that, so I can't have a coherent answer. Bob Baxter, you're it. You're last.
Nobody else.
Thank you very much.
No, we have so many, I have so many problems with you, so you be last, okay?
Well, I'm sorry about this last round, but I never got the first email.
I
Anyway,
know.
I'm here to chime in on Bitwarden. I've used it for a couple of years. I've used a few others. I think it's outstanding. A couple of features. It's cross-platform. I have it on my Chromebook. I have it on my iPhone. I have it on my wife's iPhone. I have it on a handful of computers. I think I have it on an iPad too. One thing you have to be careful of is if you lose that master password, you have lost your file. However, when you get into Bitwarden, you look for a feature under files, I believe, that allows you to make a copy of it. It's unsecured, so you got to put it someplace safe. I think it must have been late at night. I changed the password. I wrote it down. I went back and I didn't write it down right. Fortunately, I had done this backup and I was able to restore the file with that. So that's good. Again, the price and the flexibility are great. I have, between my wife and I that share the same account, we have 150 passwords in there, and they're all in subsections. Hers start with her name, mine start with my name, and then there's a dash, and it's kind of a category: shopping, websites, computer clubs, all those things. And it's very easy. I could not figure out how to cut and paste from on my iPhone, because I don't use my iPhone that way. I went to the iStore and they showed me how, and it's simple. You just bring up your password safe, you click what you're looking for, you tap a button and it will copy it. And then you go to the place in your phone where you want to put it, and you get the box open where you got to paste it in, and you very lightly tap that box and you get a paste feature. You click it and you're done. It's so simple, very flexible. I think it's outstanding.
Thank you. And Richard from Australia is actually going to walk us off. We could not have a question from him since he had to get up so early this morning.
Or he hasn't gone to bed so late.
Yeah, just a comment on backups and restores. Linux and Windows computers can have multiple login accounts. It would be good to have information on being able to back up and restore an individual account rather than the whole computer.
Well, what I do is I have, my user on Windows is an administrator, and I have a couple of other user accounts on my computer. But I have administrator rights over their home folders. And so even though I'm not logging into them, I can go into their documents folder and back up the files.
Super. Thank you so much. And with that, we are finished and I get to eat breakfast. Way cool. John, will you take us really off?
Yeah. I want to thank Drew for sharing with us today. We will be continuing our theme for backing up the rest of March. Next week at the Linux half of it will be on some Linux stuff, but then the other half will be on backing up software. And Drew and I are going to team tag again, only I'm going to let Drew go first next time. And he will be talking about a backup software, and I'm going to be talking about a cross-platform one. So even if you're not a Linux person, you want to hear some more about backing up software, register when you get that. It's been great. We went very overtime today, but it's a topic that we hope we had a lot of people show up for it, and hope a lot of people go away from this and will seriously give it a thought to being backing up, and join us again when we do. So all of you people have a great afternoon.